12 of these preservation boards. Orlando, Tampa had one, Miami had one, Jacksonville. About 2,000, there were 2 left. Let's go to St. Augustine. And the St. Augustine properties, the city of St. Augustine stepped up and said, hey, we'll take these and manage them. And if you've been to St. Augustine, the old Spanish Quarter, or they call it the old Colonial Quarter now, those historic properties were the state, that was the old preservation board. And the city of St. Augustine took those. I'll come back to that in a second because they don't have them anymore. The city of Pensacola said, no, we don't want them. They wouldn't touch us. We were holding things together with chewing gum and baling wire, and it was a big, it was going to be tough for them to do those, but University of West Florida stepped up. And in 2001, we moved from being a direct support organization to the Department of State to the University of West Florida. Some changes happened. Previous to moving to the university, our board was appointed by the governor. We have a citizen board. Once we moved to the university, the board is now appointed by the university president. And so that was a pretty big change. But we are, all universities, state universities have DSOs, direct support organizations. They're usually the university foundation, the fundraising arm. University of West Florida's got us, and they really had, over the years, it took them initially how they deal with us, because our mission is not to raise money. Our mission is to collect, preserve, and interpret history. So that's what we do. We're a little bit different. We work in conjunction with the university's foundation. We actually fall under the advancement division because that's sort of that public relations piece that we do. And it's been a good thing for us. We've been able to, with the university's fundraisers, they've been able to go out and try to raise some funds for us to do things that we haven't normally been able to do. If you've been downtown, a few years ago, we lit up the lit up the History Museum at night. That was money that was donated by Fiesta Five Flags. It was a pretty good expense to do that. They gave us $100,000. They paid a little bit over $20,000 a year for 5 years. But that allowed us to do that. That relationship was developed with the fundraisers on campus, so we hadn't been able to do those. We were able to do something for this community that was not tax dollars too. The plaza behind it, that was money the board put their funds into doing the things that were hard to raise money for, like building a sidewalk, putting some grass. But the playground that's there, the Stugers family funded that. The storytelling circle that we have right behind the museum, that was an Impact 100 grant. The stage that's there, it's a name that you probably know here because I think they've been associated with this organization. The Linda Evans Education Pavilion was donated by a local couple to Gulf Breeze, David and Emily Walby. And so we had community support for this that came and did a public benefit. So there was not state money in there. So we've been able to do those things. I know I'm running low on time, so I want to get on through a little bit of things here and tell you some other parts that we're working on. One of the things that people don't realize, and I've talked about this site downtown that we manage, we are on top of where the original Spanish and British forts were, getting back to the 1700s in downtown Pensacola. That became pretty evident that they built on, you don't think it's high ground, but it is a little high ground. After Hurricane Ivan, everything around us was flooded and we were still high and dry. Not by much, but we were. So everywhere down there is an archaeological site. We've tried to interpret that in the plaza behind the museum. We've marked the lines of the fort where the walls came through. We've put up some of these signs to tell people about that. But people don't realize that they're walking on history. The plazas, Plaza Ferdinand over about Palafox Street and Seville Square down where Old Christ Church are, they're not there by accident. That's technically what's left of the parade ground to the east and at the eastern gates and the western gates of that fort. It's much smaller now, but that was the area outside the fort. On the western side, right in front of the museum, a lot of history happened in this fort in general, but that was a pretty historic place that we celebrated last year. On July 17, 1821, I knew there was a 17 in there, was when Andrew Jackson accepted all of Florida for the United States, in Florida territory. It happened, that fort was where the Spanish government was. It happened right out the gates of the fort, where they did the flag changing ceremony, right downtown Pensacola. That paved the way. That actually helped Andrew Jackson after his battles at New Orleans and others really propelled him. He was governor of Florida, first governor of Florida, to the presidency. That changed the whole nature of this country as we move forward with the Jacksonian democracy that ruled for years and years after that. So history happened here. I had one guy tell me, he's like, oh, this fort, it went from Seville Square to Plaza Ferdinand, from Main Street all the way up to Government. This thing was huge. It's like, yeah, it's huge. It's big. It had to be important, right? So we had a very important fort here. It was important.